KJA Global Channel. The Political System and Me. Series 4. The Political System Across Every Sector of Society. Episode 37. Justice Sector. Courts, Lawyers, Evidence, and Legal Aid. Justice is the difference between a society and a jungle. In a jungle, the strong decide what is right. In a society, the law is supposed to protect the weak, restrain the strong, and give every person a place to stand. I once thought justice was a courtroom scene. A judge. A gavel. A dramatic argument. A final verdict. Something distant. Something for lawyers. Something far from ordinary life. But justice is not a scene. Justice is a system. It is a chain of human decisions and institutional safeguards that must work every day. So citizens can settle disputes without violence, defend rights without being destroyed, and hold power accountable without fear. This is where our question begins. Would a poor person and a powerful person truly receive the same justice from a system? If one link is corrupt or weak, the whole chain becomes unreliable. And when justice becomes unreliable, people stop using law. They use money, connections, intimidation, political influence, or revenge. That is how societies begin to rot. The system reveal is evidence, representation, and legal aid. The justice sector is the nation's fairness engine. In plain language, the hidden mechanism is evidence, representation, and legal aid. The justice sector includes courts, judges, lawyers, prosecutors, police investigators, forensic services, prisons, legal aid bodies, professional regulators, and enforcement institutions. Justice depends on how these institutions work together. A fair judge cannot repair evidence that was destroyed. A good lawyer cannot protect a client who is denied access. A lawful judgment cannot help if nobody enforces it. Justice must be built on facts, not force. Lawyers are the citizens' shield against the state. Legal aid is the bridge that turns rights into reality for ordinary people. Judicial independence is the first condition. A judge must be free to decide according to law and evidence, not political command, wealth, fear, family connection, or public pressure. Independence is not a personal feeling. It requires appointment safeguards, secure tenure, adequate resources, fair case assignment, ethical rules, protection from intimidation, and credible discipline. Independence does not place judges above accountability. It prevents accountability from being used as punishment for lawful decisions. Impartiality is equally essential. A judge may be independent from government, yet influenced by prejudice, private interest, hidden relationships, or social hierarchy. Disclosure, recusal, reasoned judgments, appeal, and ethical review protect the integrity of the decision. Lawyers are not decorations in a courtroom. They translate law, test evidence, challenge unlawful power, protect confidentiality, and ensure that a person's case is actually heard. In criminal cases, a lawyer may be the only barrier between the citizen and the full force of the state. Professional independence matters here too. Lawyers must be able to advise and represent clients without intimidation, political retaliation, or punishment for lawful advocacy. But independence must be joined with ethics. Lawyers must not fabricate evidence, deceive courts, exploit clients, reveal confidential information unlawfully, or use delay as a weapon. Prosecutors carry a special duty. Their role is not simply to win. Their duty is to seek justice, disclose relevant evidence, avoid selective prosecution, and respect the presumption of innocence. Evidence is democracy's shield. It means power cannot punish without proof. Evidence must be lawfully collected, preserved, tested, disclosed, and challenged. A confession obtained through torture is not reliable justice. A document altered in secret is not evidence. A witness threatened into silence cannot participate freely. Chain of custody matters because evidence must remain traceable from collection to courtroom. Who found it? Who stored it? Who examined it? Was it changed? Can the record be verified? Forensic evidence can strengthen justice, but science can also be misunderstood or misused. Experts must explain methods, limits, uncertainty, and possible error. Due process is the discipline that prevents punishment by accusation. It requires notice of the case, time to prepare, access to evidence, an impartial hearing, the opportunity to respond, legal representation where needed, and a reasoned decision. Equality before the law does not mean treating every person identically in every circumstance. It means status, wealth, identity, or political connection must not determine whose rights matter. Legal aid is not charity. It is part of equality before the law. A wealthy person can obtain advice, gather evidence, hire experts, pay fees, and survive delay. A poor person may lose the case before the hearing begins. Legal aid must therefore be timely, competent, independent, adequately funded, geographically reachable, and available at the stages where rights can actually be protected. Access to justice also requires understandable procedures, interpreters, disability access, safe complaint routes, reasonable costs, and protection for vulnerable participants. Delay is another form of injustice. A detained person waiting years for trial may lose freedom, work, health, and family life. A worker waiting for unpaid wages may lose the ability to survive. A family waiting for land resolution may never return home. Complex cases need time. But unexplained, unequal, or manufactured delay can destroy a valid claim without formally rejecting it. Appeal protects against error. Judges can misunderstand facts, misapply law, overlook evidence, or use an unfair procedure. A higher court can review the decision and strengthen consistency. But endless appeal can become another weapon of delay. The system must balance correction, urgency, cost, and finality. Enforcement completes justice. A judgment nobody obeys is only paper. Courts may order release, compensation, restitution, protection, a new hearing, policy correction, or the invalidation of unlawful action. Police, prisons, ministries, employers, companies, and powerful individuals must remain subject to those lawful orders. Justice sector reform is not only institutional. It is psychological. Citizens must learn that arbitrary power can be challenged through lawful institutions. Officials must learn that authority has limits. Judges and lawyers must learn that legitimacy comes from disciplined service, not status. The most dangerous courts are courts that look legitimate while operating as captured systems. There may be robes, hearings, files, and verdicts, while outcomes are controlled by politics, money, fear, or protected influence. To understand the justice sector, follow the rights chain. Right or legitimate interest, law or constitutional rule, responsible institution, complaint or review, hearing and evidence, remedy, enforcement. Right or legitimate interest asks what human claim is at stake. Liberty, property, bodily safety, fair work, equality, family life, expression, due process, or another lawful interest. Law or constitutional rule asks where the claim is recognized and what limits apply. Responsible institution asks which court, prosecutor, legal aid body, police unit, regulator, or enforcement office must act. Complaint or review asks where the person can challenge harm and whether the route is safe, affordable, timely, and accessible. Hearing and evidence ask who listens, what proof is required, whether both sides can participate, and whether reasons are recorded. Remedy asks what can repair the violation. Enforcement asks who makes the remedy real and what happens if the responsible actor refuses. A broken outcome may begin far upstream. The visible harm may be wrongful detention, stolen land, unpaid wages, discrimination, violence, censorship, or a broken contract. But the deeper failure may be an unjust law, inaccessible counsel, missing evidence, an intimidated witness, a captured prosecutor, a biased judge, or an unenforced order. The chain prevents us from reducing failure to one judge, one lawyer, or one verdict. It identifies where law, access, capacity, evidence, independence, remedy, or enforcement stopped working. When citizens can locate that break, criticism becomes more accurate and reform becomes more practical. For this episode, the principal mechanism is evidence, representation, and legal aid. The production graphic must make every link readable on a phone screen and label country-specific or proposed arrangements honestly. Under dictatorship, the justice sector is shaped primarily by concentrated command. Information is restricted, institutions answer upward, lawyers may be intimidated, evidence may be manipulated, and challenge may carry personal risk. Courts may process cases while protecting the regime rather than the citizen. Law becomes a costume for force. In a fragile democracy, formal rights may exist while patronage, corruption, weak legal aid, political pressure, poor records, or weak enforcement makes justice inconsistent. Courts may be independent in some cases and captured in others. Legal aid may exist but remain underfunded. Judgments may be issued but ignored. In a functioning federal democracy, authority is constitutionally distributed, common rights remain enforceable, and courts, prosecutors, legal aid bodies, professional regulators, legislatures, media, civil society, and citizens contest justice sector power. Elections or federal language do not prove performance. The viewer should compare who decides, how authority was obtained, whether records are public, whether affected people participate, and whether enforceable remedy exists in practice. The constructive question is not merely what values we declare, but what institutions make justice reliable. The minimum guardrails are: 1. Rights stated clearly in law. People must be able to know what rights exist, what conduct is prohibited, what procedure applies, and which institution has authority. 2. Independent and impartial decision-makers. Appointment, tenure, assignment, discipline, removal, disclosure, and recusal rules must protect lawful judgment and address misconduct fairly. 3. Due process and equality before the law. Notice, evidence, representation, hearing, reasoned decisions, and equal treatment must not depend on wealth, status, identity, or connection. 4. Legal aid and accessible complaint routes. Procedures should be affordable, understandable, geographically reachable, linguistically accessible, and safe for vulnerable people. 5. Enforceable remedy. Courts need authority to order meaningful relief, and public institutions need a duty to comply promptly, transparently, and lawfully. These safeguards work as a system. Rights without independent judges become promises. Independent judges without due process can still be arbitrary. Due process without legal aid may protect only those who can afford it. Evidence without integrity can manufacture guilt. And a judgment without enforcement does not repair harm. Global relevance. Across political labels, ask who decides, what limits power, what evidence is accepted, who can obtain representation, who can appeal, and whether correction is real. Myanmar relevance. Use ordinary lived experience only where it clarifies the mechanism. Do not treat one authority, court, legal profession, organization, community, or proposed arrangement as the whole country. Separate existing institutions from interim systems, local practices, political commitments, and aspirational federal designs. Here is the civic practice for this episode. See and ask. Ask whether a poor person and a powerful person would truly receive the same justice near you. Consider cost, delay, evidence, representation, safety, appeal, and enforcement. Verify. Examine professional codes, court rules, legal aid frameworks, case management safeguards, discipline procedures, and judicial independence standards. Distinguish what the law promises from what institutions deliver in practice. ACT. Use an anonymized scenario to test equality, evidence, representation, due process, appeal, and enforcement. Identify the right, responsible institution, proof required, legal assistance, possible remedy, and enforcement body. Use lawful and proportionate methods, and do not turn the exercise into a public accusation. Review. Record whether you can name the responsible institution, the evidence, the safeguard or remedy, and one safe next step. Protect victims, witnesses, families, confidential records, legal privilege, and digital security. Legal aid must be the bridge, not the exception. The deepest promise of democracy is not that leaders will always be good. It is that even when leaders become bad, institutions can restrain them. That is the purpose of justice. When justice becomes real, a nation becomes safer. Not because it has no conflict, but because it has a peaceful way to resolve conflict without fear. The principle to carry forward is this: the justice sector is the nation's fairness engine. Ask yourself, what part of justice sector integrity have I treated as normal even though it should be visible, answerable, and correctable? Rights become real through remedies. In the next episode, we continue with security sector ethics. Use of force, restraint, and oversight. Continue the playlist, use the worksheet, and keep the practice safe, truthful, and disciplined. The system shapes our lives. Our participation shapes the system.
Subscribe.
Learn, participate, shape the future. KJA, knowledge justifies authority.